stop what you are doing right now because what you are about to hear may be the most important health message you encounter this year. That is not said to create fear or attention for its own sake, but because most people over the age of 50 are never told this information in a clear, practical way, even though much of it already exists in medical research. My name is Dr. William Lee. I am a vascular biologist and cancer researcher, and I have spent more than 25 years studying how the human body naturally defends itself against disease at the cellular level. What I have found, supported by large-scale research, including a major 2022 study from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health that tracked over 116,000 adults for nearly 3 decades, is that a specific category of daily lifestyle habits can reduce overall cancer risk by as much as 61% in adults over 50. This is not about medication or treatment. It is not about chemotherapy or supplements. It is about how everyday behavior influences the biology inside your cells. And over the next few minutes, I am going to break down 5 of the most important habits linked to this effect, ranked from simple support to the most powerful intervention of all. One of them is so commonly misunderstood that nearly 90% of people over 60 are doing it incorrectly without realizing its impact. Research suggests that correcting it alone could nearly cut cancer risk in half. That is why it is important not to rush this. Each habit builds on the next, and the order matters more than most people realize. Before we begin, I want to ask you something directly. If you are comfortable, share your age in the comments, and also think about whether any doctor has ever spoken to you about preventing cancer at the biological level, not just detecting it early. That simple question helps reveal a gap in modern healthcare, and your responses genuinely help shape future discussions. Now, let's begin with number 5. The 5th habit is one of the most overlooked because it appears too simple to matter. Yet, this simplicity is exactly why it is often ignored. It is proper hydration, specifically drinking about 16 to 20 ounces of clean water first thing in the morning before coffee, food, or any screen time. At first glance, this may not seem significant. However, after around age 55, the body's internal thirst signaling becomes less accurate. The brain no longer registers dehydration as effectively, which means many older adults operate slightly dehydrated every day without noticing it. Research from the University of Barcelona in 2019 showed that adults over 60 often function at roughly 8 to 12% below optimal cellular hydration levels without feeling thirsty at all. This matters because hydration is not just about comfort. It directly supports the lymphatic system, which acts like the body's waste removal network, clearing damaged cells, toxins, and cellular debris. When hydration drops, the system slows down. Waste accumulates, inflammation increases, and over time, this low-grade inflammation becomes one of the biological environments where cancer is more likely to develop, particularly in organs like the colon, bladder, and kidneys. A long-term Harvard study on nurses found that women who drank more than 5 glasses of water per day had significantly lower risk of colon cancer compared to those who drank very little. This is one of the clearest examples of how a simple habit can have measurable long-term effects. Hydration also supports autophagy, the process by which cells clean and repair themselves. Think of it as an internal maintenance system that removes damaged components before they become dangerous. As we age, this process becomes less efficient, but proper hydration helps keep it active. A practical way to apply this is simple. Place a glass of water near your bed at night and drink it immediately upon waking, before anything else. Some people add lemon, which may provide additional supportive compounds. Even better, combine this with light movement in the morning, because physical activity helps stimulate lymphatic flow and enhances the cleansing process. This is the foundation. And once this is established, the next habit builds on it in a powerful way. The second habit moves from hydration into nutrition, specifically a category of food that has been part of traditional diets in many of the longest living populations around the world. For decades, it was overlooked by Western medicine, but today it is supported by more than 1,000 scientific studies exploring its role in inflammation and cancer prevention. These are fermented foods, including options such as plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso. What makes these foods important is not just their nutritional content, but their effect on the gut microbiome, the complex ecosystem of bacteria living inside the digestive system. A major 2021 Stanford study published in Cell showed that individuals who consumed high fiber and fermented foods experienced a measurable increase in microbiome diversity, along with a reduction in multiple inflammatory proteins linked to cancer progression. This matters because inflammation is not just a symptom of disease, it is a biological environment that can encourage abnormal cell growth over time. As people age, especially after 60, the intestinal lining naturally becomes more permeable. This is sometimes referred to as increased gut permeability, where the barrier between the intestines and bloodstream becomes less tight. When this happens, bacterial compounds known as endotoxins can enter circulation, triggering systemic inflammation throughout the body. This chronic inflammation acts like a constant irritant, increasing stress on tissues and potentially supporting the early development of abnormal cells. However, fermented foods help restore balance by introducing beneficial bacteria that strengthen the gut barrier and reduce inflammatory signaling. In clinical observations, patients who added daily fermented foods often showed measurable improvements in inflammation markers within a few months. One example involved a 7-year-old patient with persistently high inflammation and fatigue. After introducing 2 servings of fermented foods per day, including kefir and sauerkraut, her inflammation levels dropped significantly within 3 months, and her energy improved noticeably. The key mechanism behind this improvement involves short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate, which are produced when gut bacteria break down fiber. Butyrate plays an important role in signaling damaged or potentially dangerous cells in the colon to undergo programmed cell death, a process that prevents them from becoming harmful. This can be understood as a natural quality control system within the body, where unhealthy cells are quietly removed before they develop further problems. To support this process effectively, fermented foods should be consumed regularly, ideally 1 to 2 servings per day, and should contain live cultures rather than pasteurized versions. An additional enhancement comes from combining fermented foods with prebiotic ingredients, such as garlic, onions, or slightly underripe bananas, which help feed beneficial bacteria and strengthen their effects. This creates a stronger foundation in the gut, but the next habit expands the impact beyond digestion into whole body metabolic function. The third habit is something most people already know about, but very few understand correctly in terms of how it influences cancer biology. It is walking, but not casual movement. This is what researchers now refer to as metabolic walking, a form of sustained activity that directly influences how the body uses energy at a cellular level. To understand why this matters, it is important to look at how cancer cells behave. Cancer cells rely heavily on glucose for energy and are far less efficient at using oxygen compared to normal cells. This metabolic pattern, first described in early research from Otto Warburg, means that cancer cells thrive in high glucose, low efficiency environments. When a person engages in sustained moderate exercise, typically at 55 to 70% of maximum heart rate, the body begins to use glucose more efficiently while increasing oxygen delivery throughout tissues. This dual effect reduces available fuel for abnormal cells while improving the overall cellular environment. Large-scale analysis involving over 1 million individuals has shown that regular moderate physical activity is associated with significant reductions in multiple cancer risks, including colon, breast, and lung cancer. These are not small changes. They represent meaningful shifts in long-term health outcomes. As the body ages, mitochondrial function also declines. Mitochondria are responsible for producing energy inside cells, and their efficiency decreases with age. This decline is now recognized as a key factor in both aging and disease development. Metabolic walking helps reverse part of this decline by stimulating mitochondrial biogenesis, which is the creation of new healthy mitochondria. In simple terms, it helps the body rebuild its energy systems at a cellular level. The practical method is straightforward. Walk for 30 to 45 minutes at a steady pace where speaking is comfortable, but singing would be difficult. This should be done at least 5 times per week, ideally in the morning before eating, as fasted movement enhances the metabolic effect. One patient, a 72-year-old retired teacher, began this routine after a precancerous finding during a routine screening. After consistent walking combined with dietary improvements, his follow-up results showed significant improvement in inflammatory markers and no further concerning developments. When combined with morning hydration, this habit becomes even more effective, especially when done in natural sunlight, which helps regulate the body's internal clock and immune function. Now, the next habit takes things deeper into molecular protection. The fourth habit focuses on a group of compounds found in cruciferous vegetables, especially broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and most powerfully, broccoli sprouts. The key compound is sulforaphane, a bioactive substance that plays a major role in cellular defense. Sulforaphane works by activating a genetic pathway known as NRF2, which controls hundreds of protective genes in the body. These genes are responsible for detoxification, antioxidant defense, and DNA repair processes that help prevent mutations from progressing into disease. However, NRF2 activity naturally declines with age, decreasing significantly between the ages of 50 and 70. This reduction weakens the body's ability to repair cellular damage, making protective dietary compounds even more important later in life. Research from major universities has shown that sulforaphane consumption is associated with reduced risk of several cancers, including bladder, prostate, breast, and lung cancer. More importantly, it has been shown to target cancer stem cells, which are often responsible for recurrence because they can survive conventional treatments. One critical detail is that sulforaphane is not present in active form in raw vegetables. It is created through a chemical reaction when plant tissue is chopped or chewed, activating an enzyme called myrosinase. However, this enzyme is sensitive to heat and can be destroyed during cooking. For this reason, preparation matters. Light chopping followed by a short resting period allows the reaction to occur before consumption. Broccoli sprouts are especially effective because they contain significantly higher concentrations of the compounds needed to produce sulforaphane. A simple strategy is to include small daily servings of raw sprouts or lightly steamed cruciferous vegetables. Combining them with foods like mustard seed or radish can enhance enzyme activity and improve overall compound availability. This habit strengthens the body's internal defense systems at a genetic level, but the final habit has the most direct influence on overall cellular protection. The most powerful habit in this entire system is sleep, but not just sleep in general. It is the quality, timing, and structure of sleep that determines its biological impact. Researchers now refer to this as sleep architecture, and it plays a central role in cancer prevention. During deep sleep stages, the brain activates the glymphatic system, a waste clearance network that removes toxins and damaged proteins from the brain and nervous system. This system only functions effectively during deep rest, making sleep essential for nightly cellular maintenance. At the same time, the body produces melatonin, a hormone that does far more than regulate sleep cycles. Melatonin is also a powerful antioxidant that influences immune function and helps inhibit the growth of abnormal cells by preventing them from forming new blood vessels. However, melatonin production declines significantly with age, dropping sharply after 40 and continuing to decrease through later life. This means that older adults often experience reduced natural cellular protection during sleep. Disrupted sleep has been associated with increased cancer risk in long-term population studies, especially in individuals with chronic night shift work or irregular sleep patterns. These findings are strong enough that major health organizations classify severe circadian disruption as a significant carcinogenic risk factor. Improving sleep quality involves several key factors: maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, reducing exposure to artificial light before bed, keeping the sleeping environment cool and dark, and avoiding late meals all contribute to stronger sleep architecture. One case involved an older patient with poor sleep quality and reduced immune function. After implementing a structured sleep routine, including environmental adjustments and consistent timing, her sleep improved significantly and her immune markers showed measurable recovery within months. When combined with morning sunlight exposure, sleep quality improves further because light exposure helps regulate the circadian rhythm, reinforcing both nighttime melatonin production and daytime alertness. This completes the 5 foundational habits, but the final section brings everything together. When all 5 habits are combined, they form a complete system that supports the body's natural defense mechanisms at multiple levels. Hydration supports detoxification, fermented foods restore gut balance, walking improves metabolic function, cruciferous vegetables activate genetic protection, and sleep strengthens immune regulation. Each habit on its own has measurable effects, but together they create a layered biological environment that reduces inflammation, improves cellular repair, and supports long-term resilience. What is important to understand is that these are not extreme interventions. They are basic biological needs that modern lifestyles often disrupt. When restored consistently, the body responds with improved function, regardless of age. Many people believe that after 50 or 60, prevention becomes less effective. However, research consistently shows that the body retains the ability to repair and regenerate well into advanced age when given the right conditions. These habits do not require expensive treatments or complicated protocols. They require consistency, a glass of water in the morning, regular movement, simple whole foods, proper sleep, and attention to circadian rhythm are all accessible steps that can be started immediately. The real question is not whether these methods work in theory, but whether they are applied consistently enough to create change over time. Biology responds to patterns, not single actions. If this information has value for you, take a moment to consider which of these habits you can begin first. Small, consistent changes often produce the most significant long-term outcomes, and as always, your experience matters. Whether your challenge is sleep, diet, or routine, recognizing the barrier is the first step toward improving it.